Running around between work, this, snow blowing, it's just extra things in my life. I don't have enough hours. I know. I left work at 3 so that I could, my secretary, Ramon, she's taking. Yeah, I did that. So. Yeah. Tonight I'll be trying to win. Are you good? I did it on. Except for the storm, great. Yeah, just keeps on coming. Hopefully it's about over. Yeah, that's what I did too.
You know,
Yeah.
it's an old situation.
It is, it's totally.
I just get 8 inches all at once and then took it around just because it's like, do we thaw or not? Because it's not. Just a nuisance right now.
Right? I know, kind of wish I would have held off on snow blowing yesterday.
Right? Yeah, I did a quick sidewalks and stuff.
Yeah.
Why?
Right, I know.
It took me like 2 seconds because it was
Yeah.
so light and easy.
I know, there was a little guy that came to my door yesterday. If you want, have some money. No, not right now. I said, because Leah doesn't have to do it. Right. No, it's to be a separate structure. No matter what, I'm gonna have to do it. This press box, that's a two-story, because you got concession stands on the main. Where they're calling games, radio. It's just a little shit. It's from like, this will be a separate, so the bad guy.
You were, I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's good because there's a lot of things.
I'm looking for it. So they might stuff. Go through that.
And it's always nice to go to the senator's lunch and
Buy some berries.
Yeah. Which isn't a bad thing either. So, a lot of the stuff.
Borrow your tie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I what?
Can I borrow your tie?
Or anything I have.
Are you willing to do the prayer tonight?
Sure.
Thank you.
You know, we're here with them again. We're doing the first meeting out of that after I left.
Yeah. Right. Cool. It's cold.
It's one. Hopefully it won't be cold. So, yeah, I've started.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, so I don't have to take a suit.
No.
All right.
Not at all.
All right.
Hi, Brian.
How you doing?
Good.
You've been out to.
I did take a shower.
That's
That's plenty close enough.
Just deciding what I'm going to read.
Oh, shoot.
We want to move it.
Let's see, where's that?
In the bathrooms. No, well, they'll keep the dungeon.
Kind of surprised at the size of the crowd we have here.
They want a place to
Oh,
chill.
the tree board.
And it's just, it's, this will be bad. And then put a second story on there.
As far as I know.
I think Brad's going to miss us tonight. I think he's out of town. So
I don't know what's $1.
that being said, he could come bolting in here in a moment too.
Usually he's here, so. Well, you know, yeah, that was when I was on the board. That was 12 years ago. So we didn't use any city money. We used like $4,000. We got grant. So yeah, we did those bridges. The city gave. That food looked good the other night.
Oh yeah, but that went well. It doesn't always go well. It doesn't always go well.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North Platte City Council meeting. Here we are Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. on what is definitely the coldest city council meeting so far this year. We're calling the meeting to order. Mr. Reeker, would you bless us with an invocation, please?
Dear Lord, we come together tonight in our deliberations and our conversations and our decisions, and we ask you to guide us in all of those works that we do tonight, that they will be pleasing to you, and that they will bear good fruit for our community and the people who live here. We thank you, Lord, for the wonderful country that you've given us to live in. You've given us this responsibility to preserve the treasures that you've given us of freedom and liberty, and at the same time to make sure that we preserve them, we don't impinge on other people's rights at the same time. We thank you, Lord, for warmth. Even though it's cold outside, we thank you for the heat that you've given us and the warmth of the building. Thank you for all of the people here tonight. Bless us with your presence. Give us your peace. Help us to love you evermore. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Angie, roll call, please.
Here.
Here?
Here.
Here?
Here.
Here.
A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of the State of Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the City Council chambers. Meeting procedure: the public may address specific agenda items at the pleasure of the mayor. If recognized by the mayor, please identify yourself by stating your name and address. Please address the council through the mayor and limit your remarks. We respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticism of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or the mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order. Tonight in the awards and accolades section, we have an award and an accolade, or maybe both, to present to our own Lyle Minchell. And I'm going to read just a little bit about Lyle. He's hiding there in the audience, but we'll get him up here in a moment. Lyle was recently presented with the Arborist of the Year award. And this award recognizes an outstanding arborist who has had a positive impact on the association the Arborist Association, due to their strong commitment to arboriculture and tree care in Nebraska. I was not prepared for that word, sorry. This year's honoree exemplifies the very best of our profession. He has dedicated his career spanning over 4 decades to the city of North Platte, where he has worked since 1979. A certified Nebraska arborist since 1996, his career predates even the establishment of the Nebraska Arborist School, underscoring his pioneering commitment to the field. Throughout his tenure, he has attended nearly every NAA Great Plains Summer and Winter Conference since 1979. His presence and contributions at these events have been treasured. Lyle Minchell's impact extends far beyond conference halls. As a certified ISA arborist and recipient of the Midwestern Chapter ISA President's Award in 2021, he has earned the respect and the admiration of his peers across the region. His service with the Nebraska Community Forestry Council since 1998 has been nothing short of transformative. Under his leadership, the council launched the statewide anti-topping tree campaign, significantly raising the standards of tree care throughout Nebraska and likely making some trees taller. I added that last little bit there. Lyle, would you please come up and get your award? Everybody, we have this great plaque. Make sure. Yeah. One more. Okay. All right. Would you like to say anything, sir? Well, sure.
Certified arborists, it's probably not even a handful of us in this end of the state. They're really, they really concentrated on the eastern part of the state. With the EAB coming in, we're gonna be needing some expertise, in those years to handle what we are gonna have to deal with in our community forest. I'd like to do one thing. I'd like to take the number of how many trees we have in North Platte. We haven't done that for 10 years. So, we have a lot of work to do. And then, thanks to tree board, we have a wonderful tree board. They're pretty powerful. They are a bit of the envy of other tree boards in the state. They do some nice, they set up a Facebook account, do some wonderful things like that too. And of course, I got a family here that's very supportive, put up with me and my trees, and, have to pull me away from a tree once in a while. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lyle. Congratulations. Okay, in a few years, you need to work towards the arborist of the national level or something like that. Okay. All right. Thank you. Consent agenda. All matters under the consent agenda are considered by the city council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any city council member may, however, remove an item from the consent agenda by request. Number 1, approve the minutes of the February 4, 2025, 1A, excuse me. 1B, approve the applications of Knights of Columbus St. Pat's Council for a special designated licenses on March 7, 14, 21, 28, April 4 and 11 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at St. Patrick's Church Parish Hall at 415 North Chestnut Street for their Lenten fish fries. 1C, accept the certificate of completion for street improvement districts number 350 through 357, 359, and 360. D, approve the interlocal cooperation agreement with the Village of Brady for animal impound services and authorize the mayor to sign necessary documents. E, approve the agreement for the sale of real property at 1106 East 14th Street with Buffalo Fields LLC and authorize the mayor to sign necessary documents. F, appoint Bill Trzynski, city attorney, as successor trustee of a deed of trust executed by Carolyn M. Seaton. G, direct the successor trustee to convey the property described as Lot 10, Block 2, Westfield, 6th Edition, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, to Carolyn M. Seaton. H, appoint Bill Trzynski, city attorney, as successor trustee of a deed of trust executed by Shelley M. Franzen. I, direct the successor trustee to reconvey the property described as Lot 11 and Lot 12, Block 11, Cody Edition, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, to Shelley M. Franzen. You've had a busy week.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of letter E.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Vols, to approve all items on the consent agenda but discuss letter E. Calling the question on that motion. Consent agenda passes as motioned. Mr. Reeker, letter E.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I read through this, it looks like the city's in the process of purchasing this land from the current owner. Is that correct?
That's correct. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, that's correct. And the intent would be to utilize the housing funds that the city was awarded through a grant application to then turn around, rehabilitate this property and then resell it for somebody that could develop it into usable residential housing.
Okay, having said that, I'm not a real estate agent, so I don't know that I understand all the ins and outs, but I didn't see anything that addressed the property taxes. Who pays the property taxes? Are the taxes up to date right now, or who's paying the property taxes?
It is included in the agreement as item number 4 on the
Okay.
first page of the purchase agreement. So the property taxes are actually up to date on this property. And we know that for sure because it was just sold at a sheriff's sale. That's where the current owner purchased it, at a sheriff's sale, where it was sold because the previous property owner had not paid the taxes.
Okay,
And so
thank you.
they are all up to date now. Under this agreement, the property owner would be required to pay the 2024 taxes because obviously where those are paid in arrears, they're not due until May and September.
Thank you, Bill.
But
I
We'll have
overlooked
money
that.
set aside from closing presumably and
Okay.
to cover those 2024 taxes.
And then the other question that I have, I presume that somebody's derived or ascertained what the value of the property is, if it was a clear lot.
Right, and that's, so the purchase price under paragraph number 2 there, that is the tax assessed value for the lot only. So we're utilizing the county's opinion as to what the value of the lot is, but that doesn't include any improvements.
Improvements.
Improvements meaning anything above the lot itself, which there are on this property, but presumably is once the city would purchase it, I think it's in a condition where we would realistically just level it and create a lot that would be available for residential housing.
Yeah, it sounds like that's gonna be the improvement.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question that I have is, once the city gets it and cleans it up and puts it back on the market, or puts it on the market, what's the anticipated resale value, and how are we gonna determine, how are we gonna sell it? Are we gonna put it on auction? We're gonna have a real estate agent sell it? What's the plan there?
So that's something that I would say maybe we're still kind of working through the exact details of that since we're just getting into the beginning of these housing grant funds. So, to be honest, I can't recall that our group has discussed exactly what it will look like once we're ready to turn around and resell these, because we're a few months out from being able to do that with any of them. But obviously we'll come back before city council and any kind of agreement for sale or proposed, whether it's auction or whatnot, is going to come back in front of city council. So I don't know that I have a great answer for you right now, Mr. Reeker, on that one, but we're working on what would be the best, most efficient use of city resources and obviously accomplishing the goals of this whole program, which is to get the property back into the hands of somebody that's gonna turn it into a usable residential lot.
So, okay, once we get it cleaned up, what do you think the property's valued at a clean lot?
Likely again, somewhere close to what that tax assessed value is, but who knows, we may, depending on what the market looks like at that time, maybe it's more than that. So, I think it's really hard to say. I've always subscribed to the notion that it's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. So,
Well, I would agree with that.
so whatever that is, it's hard to say right now.
Well, looking at the area, it's probably not a real desirable place for somebody to spend $150,000 on a new home, would be my personal assessment, which is probably going to limit the value of the property. So
It's possible, but I would tell you that that area is also, it's on the city's radar as far as working with other property owners to get their properties cleaned up
Okay.
as well. So
okay, thank you, Bill.
that's always a focus of ours. So sometimes it's a slow process, but we do the best we can to encourage people to get that done.
Okay, thank you.
What will most likely occur with selling those properties is that we'll wait till we have 4 or 5 of them secured, and then we'll advertise them and take sealed bids. That's most likely what will happen, Ed, and then the council would have to approve those bids as a final process.
Do you have any time frame as to how soon you would like to put it back on the market?
Well, we're going to wait till we've got 3 or 4 or
I
5 of them
understand.
all at once. So I would imagine within the next 90 to 120 days, we'll be selling some.
Oh, okay, that's good news.
But
Okay.
but I have to speculate because it takes us, you don't know how
I
long it's
understand.
going to take to acquire them, all said and done. So, Lane, do you have something to add?
And part of the stipulations of the grant, there has to be some things put on those lots as far as how they can be built, what they can be used for, and the prices they can be set on there. So I mean, it is going to limit as far as what some people can do because it's for workforce housing. So it's there are some stipulations that go along with the sale of that property.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? We would need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve item number 1E in the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Vols. Calling the question on item 1E. Item 1E is approved. Includes the consent agenda. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to item number 2 on the regular agenda. Third reading and action on ordinance number 4193 to amend Title 9, Chapter 90, Section 90.99 of the Code of the City of North Platte relating to penalties for the violation of animal control ordinances. Lane, this is the third reading.
All right. Ordinance number 4193. An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, to amend Title 9, Chapter 90, Section 90.99 of the Code of the City of North Platte by revising provisions related to penalties for the violation of animal control ordinances, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 4193 to amend Title 9, Chapter 90, Section 90.99 at the Code of the City of North Platte relating to penalties for the violation of animal control ordinances on final reading.
Second.
Motion by Flanders, second by McNew. Discussion on item number 2. Seeing none, calling the question on item number 2, please. Item number 2 is passed. Item number 3, first reading and action on ordinance number 4199 to amend Title 9, Chapter 91 of the Code of the City of North Platte to revise Section 91.21 relating to the clearing of sidewalks and to add Section 91.29 relating to penalties for the violation of sidewalk ordinances. Lane, the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 4199. An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, to amend Title 9, Chapter 91 of the Code of the City of North Platte by revising the provisions of Section 91.21 relating to the clearing of sidewalks and by adding section 91.29 relating to penalties for the violation of sidewalk ordinances, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 4199 to amend Title 9, Chapter 91 of the Code of the City of North Platte to revise Section 91.21 relating to the clearing of sidewalks and to add Section 91.29 relating to the penalties for the violation of sidewalk ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Dye. Lane, you want to describe what we have going on here, please?
One of the main reasons we're looking at amending this or changing this is we have sidewalk ordinances right now, and it calls for people to keep your sidewalks clear, but it doesn't have any type of a time frame. And so looking at some of the ordinances across the state, most cities had some kind of a time frame after a snowstorm stops to give them some time to clear the snow. I mean, right now we have people that are clearing the snow while the snow's still falling, I think, because we don't have a actual time frame of when they can do that. And so this just gives them some, like I said, 36 hours after the cessation of a storm to get their sidewalks cleared instead of not kind of having it open-ended. And we wanted to just be more defined so people didn't feel like they had to be out there. You know, sometimes they're actually clearing their sidewalks before the plows are through, and so then they get covered back up and things, and so it might alleviate some of that confusion. Was the main reason for that.
And we do also get complaints about folks who don't clear their snow at all. And then this provides with a mechanism to motivate those folks to clear their snow.
And
So,
it does talk about other material also, which, you know, if someone has weeds or things growing up in the sidewalk cracks in the summertime, that could be a tripping hazard and things. It's also kind of addresses all of that. So that's kind of the reasoning behind this ordinance.
question, Ed?
Excuse me. I appreciate you guys bringing this up. I like to walk, and there's some of the sidewalks that are, you know, in pretty bad repair. And I don't know if that's part of the intention here is to encourage the homeowner or the property owner to replace them or repair them, or because I know of some that they've got elevation changes in the sidewalks at the joints at somewhere 2 and 3 and 4 inches. And, you know, it's definitely a hazardous circumstance when a person's just walking out there.
This doesn't necessarily address that. We have other ordinances that address sidewalks and good repair and things. Part of it is, like some of our other things, just getting back on top of it because they haven't been addressed for a long time as far as, you know, making people replace their sidewalks. So this is more the obstructions on top of it more than the broken, but we do have other ordinances that address that as well.
And what about people that park on the sidewalk?
We deal with that on a regular basis too. That is in violation of city code. And so those people that do that and block the sidewalk with their vehicles are subject to being cited by the police department.
Okay, I thought it probably was addressed somewhere. And then under 91.21, couple questions. Under number 2, it says all sidewalks shall be cleaned within 36 hours of the cessation of a storm. Who determines when the storm ceases?
Good question.
I mean, and I'm not trying to nitpick or anything like that, but I thought the storm was over this morning.
Right. I mean, usually you kind of look at that as when the last snow stops falling, and, you know, obviously it's probably not going to be right at 36 hours because it's going to be someone's guesstimate of when it stopped. But I mean, to be
Is there
close.
some gauge that maybe the Weather Bureau would have that we could use?
We could look into it. I don't know that answer.
Yeah, okay. Well, the other question that I have then is under 9129. I'm not sure that I understand how all this fits together. A, each 24-hour period commencing with declaration of a snow emergency shall be deemed to be a separate day. How does that fit into the 36 hours?
I'll let Bill take that one. Question.
So I think the intent is that you have the 36 hours to get the snow removed. And then under the penalty provision, if you, after the storm has ceased and you've gotten past that 36-hour period, I mean, realistically, some of the snow is going to resolve itself. It's going to melt. But I think the idea is that under the violation and penalty provision under 91.29 is that technically each day that obstruction or the snow cover remains on the sidewalk could result in an additional fine.
Is that during the 36 hours or
It's
after the 36
after the
hours?
36 hours. So,
So it wouldn't be retroactive. That kind of implies that here, that if we're gauging our beginning at the time a snow emergency is declared, then if we don't have it cleared in 24 hours, it appears that we're in violation and could be fined. But under the 9121, it says we have 36 hours. I think it's 36 hours. Is that right? 36 hours.
right. And that's, so the first part under 9121 is to clear the sidewalks. The second one under 9129 is when you could be fined for not clearing them. And so I think the way that I read it is that under 9129, each 24-hour period that you haven't cleared your sidewalk, that's another potential fine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that starts after the 36 hours.
correct.
Okay.
Would it make sense? I mean, because we don't always declare a snow emergency, but you still have to keep your sidewalks clear. So I don't know if maybe the language just needs change where you take the snow emergency line out of it. But it's just obstructions. So we list all these different obstructions that are on there. And again, you know, we don't have to declare a snow emergency to clean your sidewalks, and we don't have to declare a snow emergency to actually, for us to plow the streets. You know,
Exactly.
we can plow without having to declare an emergency as well.
That would seem to make some sense to me, because even like right now, I don't think a snow emergency's been declared.
No.
But, you
I
know,
think we did.
if a person hasn't shoveled their walks, they probably have 4-5 inches, depending on where you are. So,
Mayor Keller, I'd move that we strike the language in 9129, cap letter A, with the declaration of a snow emergency. We strike that language. I think that clarifies it.
I think it does too, Jim.
Do we have a second?
Second. Yeah, I like that.
Motion by Nisley, second by Vols to strike with the declaration of a snow emergency. And I'm sorry, I didn't get written down which paragraph that is.
It's 91.29, cap letter A.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on striking the language?
So Mayor, just to clarify, that's all we're voting on. We'll come back to discussion. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
just,
you.
just voting on striking the language, that's all. Calling the question and striking the language. Language is struck. Removed. Let me say removed.
I do
Yeah,
have
Rod,
one
go ahead.
question. My folks used to live on a snow emergency route, and you could go out and scoop the sidewalk, and 5 hours later after the storm, the snow plow came and covered the snow up. I'm sure we're going to be a little graceful about this 36-hour thing. On the 37th, they're not going to be coming over charging you $50, but there's going to be instances where they might not have it done in 36 hours because they're on that snow route.
Yeah,
That was part of the reason for giving a time frame instead, because
Right.
you know, we've changed some of our procedures where a lot of times we're out when the snow's still falling to try and get so you have less being thrown up there. But
Yeah.
it can happen where it gets pretty thick by depending on how much snow has accumulated on the roads, and then it gets thrown on the sidewalks. So that's what we thought. Some places had a 24-hour, and some had 36, and we kind of went with the more generous with the 36-hour after the snowstorm thing, hoping to give people some time. I'm hoping this is just worst case scenario because most people take care of their place.
yeah, that's true. And then, knocking on wood here, since it's still snowing outside. Should we get 2 feet of snow,
Yeah.
the policemen aren't going to be out there with their stopwatches or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're all going to be practical about this. So.
Yeah.
Ed,
And Mr. Mayor, one final question. I believe under 9129, letter C, we're talking about a violation of vehicles on a snow route, I believe. What are the current fines? I don't think it calls it a fine here. Charges for removal and storage are set from time to time by the council or the mayor. Do we have any of those in place now?
The police department does. That would be like impound fees.
With towing.
Okay. So, but that would include the wrecker coming and hauling my car off?
That's my understanding.
It's those fees plus impound. There's I don't remember exactly how it's written in our fee schedule, but it's what we pass each year. I believe it's part of that. Kendall, do you remember our fee schedule for impound and towing vehicles? It's the actual cost of the tow plus some charges. Is that correct?
Yeah, they would.
Microphone, please, Kendall. Otherwise, the folks at home think we're just listening to the walls.
Kendall Allison, North Platte Police Department. It's a $35 fine on the snow route. And then if we tow one to impound, I don't know exactly what the fees are. I believe it's $60, and then there's a certain amount every day for that impound fee.
And Kendall, just generalizing, how often do we tow a vehicle as a result of snow?
Not very often.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'd still need to take mine over to ABC.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I have one other.
Go ahead, Rod.
Is the police department the one that is going to be the overseer of this, or code enforcement? Who does the telling of
Clearing off sidewalks.
Well, issues get reported all over the place. So occasionally they're phoned to City Hall. Sometimes they're phoned to the police department. And then if it's issuing a ticket, the policemen will be the ones who go out and issue the ticket.
Okay.
But code enforcement may pick them up, or realize there's an issue. So. Ty?
Couple of comments. First, I was contacted by 2 residents with concerns about this that were both on snow routes. And I will tell you, I'm pretty sensitive to their concerns because I lived on Phillip for 10 years. And so on a storm like we've had in the last 2 days, I would have done my sidewalk and dug my driveway out probably 4 or 5 times. One of them told me that they think they've seen that in other communities, there's either a technique or a technology or equipment that allows the stopping of covering people's driveways on snow routes to where you can go up and go down. And so I was curious about what the environment is on that. That's my first question.
There is a wing that you can get on a snowplow that can go up and down. It works pretty good in smaller communities. It's a little harder in ours, especially when we have a lot of driveways close together, because then you're either dumping a bunch of snow right before a driveway or pushing much further on afterwards where you create bigger piles. I haven't seen it used real effectively in cities our size just because of that. Also, because we don't just have maintainers that plow our streets. We also have pickup plows and truck plows. It's a little more difficult. Depends on each route, who's going where and who gets to where first. And so it'd be real tough to make it so we could be that way everywhere. It'd just be real tough technology to put in place with our size of community.
Yeah, I was trying to imagine how that would work, like on a street like Phillip, where you have a driveway just one after another. I will tell you, that's probably the most common complaint I hear from the residents in North Platte. I don't know that there's a good solution for it, but at least acknowledging that it's something that we hear a lot. And so the second resident that contacted me on Phillip, they were also on Phillip. Their concern was if this third, if the plows keep coming over and they keep hitting their sidewalk and they keep redoing it. But I wanted to maybe dial in on the 36 hours a little bit to see if there's, and I'm not against this ordinance at all, but if there's a practical reason for 36 hours, in other words, are there things the city's trying to do? I mean, I was thinking about trash, but if your trash isn't down there, that's really your problem, not city's problem. And if I think about, okay, if I bring my RV in from the weekend, I think I get 4 days to clean it out. Is it 3 or 4 days? Or if my weeds are tall, I get, I don't know how many days. The 36 hours seemed quicker triggered to me than what we've got in our other ordinances that are of a similar nature. And so I was curious if there's a good reason for the time frame.
It's primarily safety.
Okay.
I mean, your trash bins, your weeds don't really affect people walking up and down the sidewalks.
So it's getting it cleared so the pedestrians using the sidewalks are in a safer environment. Okay.
Or the delivery folks or anyone else. I
Okay.
mean, that's the
Yeah.
primary reason.
Okay.
I don't think anyone in the ordinance creation process is married to the 36 hours. So if you
Okay.
want a motion to change, I'm sure the council will be willing to consider it. But the reason is that, and again, like I said, I don't think the police force is going to be standing there with a
Right.
stopwatch, but you know, they usually when we get complaints, at least the ones that I've heard about people who don't move their snow, it's because it snowed 5 days ago and now the sidewalk is iced over because people have moved across the sidewalk. And so removing it, snow becomes a much bigger deal the longer you let it sit.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the logic behind it as well.
And really,
Makes sense.
because our current ordinance doesn't have any time frame at all. It's kind of open-ended. And so, like I said, I think some people are worried is when they're out there maybe before the snow stops falling and things to try and be on the safe side. And I felt, and kind of, like I said, taking the lead from some other communities, having some time frame so they didn't think they had to get out there, right as soon as the snow stopped or whatever, maybe being out late at night or something, or when it's
Yeah.
still snowing. I mean, it is unfortunate because it does happen that people have done their sidewalks or the driveways, and that's when, then an hour later is when we get by with the plows, because it takes, best case scenario, it takes us 8 to 10 hours to get the whole town plowed now. And if there's a whole lot of snow, it might take 12 to 16 hours. And so, sometimes people have their driveways and their sidewalks cleared and then we're going past, and it's unfortunate.
Well, the flip side of that is then I moved to a street that doesn't get plowed, and that's a whole nother set issue. So there's the good that comes with the bad. I think if UPS or FedEx or Postal Service were here, they'd probably like 24 or 36 hours. So as you think about their safety and all that. Okay, I just wanted to talk through that because I've had a few questions from people on Snow Rates about that. I'm in agreement with your recommendations. So thank you.
Pete?
I got contacted by an individual today, and I guess either Bill or Lane, is there a separate ordinance that talks about not putting the snow onto the street or through the street? So I got contacted by somebody, saw about 4 businesses around the community where they were moving snow off of their parking lot, and it's not the business, it's a contractor basically, and they're pushing it across like a Phillip or a major street and then dumping it into a ditch or into a sidewalk. Is there somewhere that addresses that in another ordinance?
There's a state statute as far as putting anything onto a roadway, and that would include snow. It's actually blowing grass and snow and anything putting onto a public roadway, which we kind of lean on a little bit as far as the statute goes. I'm not sure if we address it also in an ordinance or not, but there is a state statute that applies to all of that.
We were kind of talking, it might be a good time to remind people, maybe put a PSA out or something, just to top of mind to not do that, not snow blow into the street or move things across the street. So, just an idea.
Appreciate it.
I saw everybody do that today.
Yeah. And they'll forget it by next winter.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, is that not addressed in letter B under 9121?
Attorney.
So far as snow goes, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So again, we're kind of, as Lane said, there's a state statute that also prohibits that type of activity, but it's adding it into the city code of ordinances as well.
And that's for vehicle safety.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah. I actually years ago had a window broken by somebody snow blowing into the street. I was driving past and a chunk of ice broke the window in the car. So long time ago. All right. Any further discussion on this item as amended? Okay. Calling the question on item number 3 as amended. Item number 3 is passed as amended. Got the amendment. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 4, second reading and action on ordinance number 4194 to rezone certain land from a B-1 neighborhood commercial district to an R-3 dwelling district located at 4005 and 4015 West A Street. Lane, the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 4194, an ordinance of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, rezoning certain lands described as lots 3 and 4, block 2, Lakeview First Subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, from a B1 neighborhood commercial district to an R3 dwelling district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 4194 to rezone certain land from a B1 neighborhood commercial district to an R3 dwelling district located at 4005 and 4015 West A Street on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Flanders, second by Reeker. Any discussion on item number 4? Lucas?
Yeah, request to abstain from this item.
Record show Mr. Lucas has abstained from item number 4. Other discussion? Calling the question on item number 4, please. Item number 4 is passed. Item number 5, approve a micro-TIF project for Dave and Tracy Hotzen to construct 9 loft-style apartments as part of a historic building rehabilitation project located at 408 North Dewey.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve a micro-TIF project for Dave and Tracy Hotzen to construct 9 loft-style apartments as part of a historic building rehabilitation project.
Second.
Motion by Voles, second by Lucas. Judy, would you fill us in real quick, please?
Judy Clark. So this you have seen before. This was actually our first micro-TIF project that we did a few years back. One of the requirements with a micro-TIF project is they have to complete the project within 2 years. So this project is not completed. And so they asked if there was any way that they could reapply. And so by doing that, it would make that, I mean, the first one is null and void anyway because it did not get completed within that 2-year time frame. So they're just asking to reapply for the remainder of what's left on their construction project.
Are the applicants with us tonight?
The applicant is in the audience if you have any questions for him.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions for Judy while she's there? Hold on.
Judy, so does the 15-year clock stay on the original clock, or does the clock reset?
No, basically by not completing that original application, it's just like we never did it before. So it would start over with where they're at. That's going to raise their base value, I'm sure. It's probably a little bit more because they have done some work. So they're probably not going to see as much of an increment as they would have had they finished that project to begin with. So it will start over like this is essentially just a new project.
Here, if I continue, Mayor. So did we issue the promissory note, or is it unissued then at this point?
Again, that was our first
Yep.
project. We did not issue the promissory note at the time, so this will give us an opportunity to do that.
Okay. So it would have been in the status of, so the taxes would have never been divided.
Correct.
And so it's like it never happened on the tax records. Their taxes still altered every year. They still paid their full taxes every year. So it is that right, that it would be
Yes.
Yeah.
treated like it never happened then?
Right. It's basically like it never happened because one of the steps in the micro-TIF process is to submit your certification to the assessor that your project is complete. And so then again, under micro-TIF, that has to happen within the 2 years from the beginning of the project. So when that doesn't happen, the assessor never divides the taxes.
Okay.
So that step never was finished. And that's why we're kind of back to the beginning at the beginning of the drawing board.
Right. So if the project would have been finished, they would have certified that, then the promissory note would have been issued, then the taxes would have been divided. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Judy while she's here? Okay.
No.
Oh,
Pete,
sorry,
Mr. Mayor,
Pete, go ahead.
I'm just looking through this. Please provide a summary for the project activities. I just don't want to do something that backs us into a corner. It says windows on here, and I believe, and maybe I need to talk to the applicant, believe the windows are done on at least the front side of that building.
Yeah, I would like him to come up and tell you
Okay.
what he has done.
Sure.
That would probably be best.
Just to make sure, kind of to the point, put the cart before the horse. How are you, sir?
Good.
Good.
Mr. Hotzen, right?
Yes.
Could you tell us where you live real quick, please?
206 South Maloney Drive.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Hodson, what has been completed on this project up to this point?
We have 6 of the 9 apartments completed. We replaced the front windows. We the foyer, there was sort of a an opening in the front of the building, which used to be display cases and stuff. We closed all that in, so we have 6 of the 9 completed, finishing up the final 3. The windows that I was referring to are facing the alley, basically, in their old double hung steel frame. That they work fine. They're just a little outdated, and some of them are cracked and stuff like that. So it would be nice if I'm going to start this thing over to take a look at that. You know, if I have 2 years to replace those, I could see that happening. So it's just the project ended up being a lot bigger than what we anticipated, and motivating the contractors was a little more than I anticipated. So we didn't complete our elevator till last spring, and then we had that fire escape. That fire escape really was worth as much as the building, you know, originally. So that entailed closing off the whole parking lot, getting a crane in there and putting that together. So there's been some really big projects, you know. I don't know if that's all you wanted to hear, but
It is.
the remaining original windows face the north and the west.
Okay. And I want to commend you because the place looks great from the exterior. You know, those
I
new
appreciate
windows
that.
on the east side, just, they're stunning. They look great. in
Oh,
there,
I
so.
appreciate that. It's sort of owned me for the last 3 years. So.
Oh, I'm sure.
Rehab projects have a way of doing that.
Yeah.
Other-
It's fulfilling. So
That's good. Other questions for Mr. Hotzen while he's here? Thank you, sir. We reserve the right to call you back. Okay, any other questions or comments on item number 5, please?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Lucas?
No, I'd just like to comment, these projects are tremendous undertakings of renovating these downtown buildings, all of them that have been done. I don't really see how this harms the city in any way, other than I feel like we should collaborate and support this project.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 5, please. Item number 5 is passed. Item number 6. Award the contract for services to Marvin Planning Consultants, Inc. to provide the North Platte Blight and Extreme Blight Study for the north side of the city of North Platte and authorize the mayor to sign related documents.
Mr. Mayor, I move to award the contract for services to Marvin Planning Consultants, Inc. to provide the North Platte and Extreme Blight Study for the north side of the city of North Platte and authorize the mayor to sign related documents.
Second.
Is that you, Nick? Yeah. Okay. Motion by Vols, second by McNew. Judy, if you would, please. You went clear back over there and sat down. You just sat right there.
Mayor, council, so this is just awarding a contract to do a study on the north side. And again, as I said in the council materials, this is no way, shape, or form that we're going to take that study and adopt the whole thing and declare the whole entire area as a blighted and substandard. That is not the intention. The intention is to have this study in place so that if there is someone who wants to do a micro TIF project, they can already have that study pretty much done, and then we can refer to the study and adopt that as the blighted substandard study for that particular parcel or number of parcels that they're wanting to do. Or if we do have, you know, a larger developer that wants to come in, they've already got that blight study that they can refer to use to move things forward a little bit faster. Makes my life a little bit easier, the attorney's life a little bit easier, so we're not having to do single parcel blight studies to help with the micro-TIF.
So Judy, I think I know the answer to these questions, but just remind me. So today, if we have a micro-TIF blight study request, essentially you and Bill collaborate to do that.
Yes, that is
Generally,
correct.
I know the first one took you guys a decent amount of time, but you've probably gotten a little better at it since then. So I'm roughly, how much time are we talking to do one per single lot on average?
So if we get someone who is very good at bringing us all the information that we request in the application, I can probably get through it if I have a full 8-hour day, if they provide all the information. And then I have to send it to Bill so that he can do his review, make sure there's not, you know, anything real wild that he sees. So I would say we can probably do it in 16 hours or something like that. If we get an applicant where we're pulling teeth, trying to get some more information out of him, it can take anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to do.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Judy? Ty?
Judy, talk to us about including extreme blight in this. I'm all for doing the mass study, but I don't know that I'm all for extreme blight. I just have mixed feelings about the program. So maybe talk to us a little bit about how you see that with this.
Extreme blight is put in place more for workforce housing development. So I can't foresee that entire north side being that, because really with the extreme blight, a regular TIF project, if it's for a commercial thing or somebody that wants to do something that's not necessarily workforce housing, there's no benefit to them at all. The one thing that it does do is if we designate an area as blight and substandard, and then somebody wants to also go ahead and designate it as extreme blight and get some of those additional incentives with that, it does help us on our percentage of areas that are declared blight, because extreme blight doesn't count in that percentage.
I would just share with you guys, I've thought a lot about this. Part of me feels like we should focus on blight, and then if somebody wants to chase extreme blight benefits, they should go do their own extreme blight study. But at the same time, if we're going to spend the money and do all this, I mean, the council still has to pass these things in the future, and the CRA still has to, and the planning commission has to look at them. And so there's still a lot of process. I don't know how I feel about a welcoming approach with extreme blight, though. So I just want to share with you that's something I've been thinking a lot about in regarding to this request. Yeah, I'm all for doing a master study, but if we do the master study and it focuses on both those items, I think we are in essence sending a message that we welcome extreme blight applications, which is the 5 extra years. Is that right, on the projects that qualify?
Yes, that is correct.
I don't have answers on this, just questions. So.
Pete? Sorry, go
Judy,
ahead.
Judy, point of clarification. Does the extreme blight, the 20 years, that's not micro TIF, right? That's just TIF.
It's just TIF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Micro TIF is 15 years straight up.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Ed, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Judy, I'm trying to determine where these boundaries are on this map.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. And again, those boundaries may change. That's just an overall view of the area that they would look at. Those boundaries could change a little bit. Most of it is north of the railroad tracks is where the majority of it is. You get off to the east side, I believe it'll come down to about 3rd Street on the east side of town, and then go all the way out to where city limit ends and even a little bit further out there. But that's just kind of a general, we didn't want to get too specific on the exact areas, but that's the kind of general area that he's going to be looking at.
Well, and it looks like you've got a couple, well, some areas that are pretty well defined, rectangular. Well, I guess not all of them are well defined, but why are they not included in the study?
Some of them are already declared blighted and substandard. I'd have to look at exactly where you're looking at, but there are a couple of areas that are already considered blighted and substandard, and there may also be some areas that aren't inside city limits.
And what's in this land now? I mean, is this some of this just bare ground or?
Some of it's bare ground, some of it's houses. I mean, it's essentially the whole. Or are you talking about the part that's vacant?
Well, I'm talking about the north side. I can't make it out, I guess. So I'm a bit confused as to what is the property being used currently for?
So if you get towards the west side of town, and north, you're gonna look at there's a lot of residential out there, very large lots, a lot of ag type properties. Maybe ag type properties are a little bit smaller than what you would consider an ag property. But some of those again are outside city limits, so they wouldn't necessarily qualify. It's just a broad scope of the area that he's gonna be looking at.
So everything that is bounded here is within city limits.
I do not believe so. I believe most of it is. There are some in that gray area that are outside city limits. But those would not qualify. That's just a broad scope of the area that he's going to look at, but he would not focus on areas that are outside city limits.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions or comments?
Just real quick,
Go ahead, Nick.
is there any prospective people looking at TIF or micro TIF in those areas? Any developers or anything, or is this just preventative?
Not to my knowledge, and I wouldn't call it preventative. I would call it being optimistic that once we get this in, somebody might want to do a project there.
Okay. Calling the question on item number 6, please. Item number 6 is passed. Item number 7, adopt the resolution regarding the 2025 City of North Platte annexation study and forward the resolution to City Planning Commission for review pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute 61117.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution regarding the 2025 City of North Platte annexation study and forward the resolution to the City Planning Commission for review pursuant to Nebraska Revised State Statute 16-117.
Second.
Motion by Bowles, second by Flanders. Well, Judy, you didn't go very far this time. Thank
I
you.
decided to stay.
Okay.
So what you see in front of you today is a resolution to set public hearing dates for the possible adoption of the annexation plan. And I went ahead and included that annexation plan in here. You're not going to be acting on the annexation plan tonight. You will see it again. The only thing you're acting on is the resolution to set the public hearing dates. So this will come back in front of you. So don't think if you're passing the resolution that you're also passing that annexation plan. That was just there for reference so that you understand what parcels we're looking at possible annexation.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Judy? Ed?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Judy, on page 66, I think there's another map too. It doesn't seem to show what the northern boundary is.
Okay, I don't have the same number you have, so is there another number besides 66 on that?
This area summaries.
Area
Oh,
summary?
number 11.
Page 11.
Page 11.
Page 11? Okay. Okay, so the pink line is the current city limit line. So if I did the northernmost boundary of that, it would be clear up by the school on the north side of the tracks. So there is no east-west north boundary on the west side. Is that what you're talking about? Like above area A?
So what is in pink is already within city limits?
Yes, that is correct.
So everything east, how far east does that property go that's not in the city limits?
That is not in the city limits. It would go probably, trying to think, Mid-Plains. Is Mid-Plains in city limits?
Mid Plains is, yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it would go to Mid-Plains.
So just for the sake of clarity, for those that can't see the map, what we're talking about annexing here is basically the area directly that Powell's Brewing sits on, as well as a couple of lots that come up to State Farm Road,
Yes,
correct?
yes. And a lot that's north of Powell's.
Yeah, and a lot. So,
So we're not looking at annexing everything all the way over to Mid-Plains?
Not currently. So when you're doing an annexation plan, one of the things that you look at is there city water, sewer, electric able to service the lots? If it is already there, that is something in an annexation plan that you would say, look, these lots are already here. They're served by a public street. They're served by public water, sewer, electrical. So it makes sense that they would be inside city limits. The housing development that you're talking about to the east, a lot of those are served by, I think, still wells, septics. I'm not sure that any of them are hooked up to city services at all. And so that would be something, yeah, I mean, in future years when water is extended and sewer is extended and they have the ability to hook up, that would be something that we would probably look at. But as of right now, they're mostly served by wells and septics.
other questions or comments? Okay. I'm just going to make a quick comment. I see Mr. Reeker is still reading intently there. So, well, I believe that over the next course or the next year anyway, since this is a non-election year, the council will likely consider a number of these resolutions to annex pieces of property that are on the borders of the city that are served, like Judy said, already by city services. I don't know that it will necessarily be all of them. Personally, I'm not in favor of annexing cornfields and things like that because unless there's a development plan for the cornfield, I don't think that's a good idea because you just raise costs, or maybe there's an extenuating circumstance in some cases. However, we will likely consider a few of these throughout the rest of the year. One of the reasons that we started with this annexation is because it's a relatively small piece of property. It fits all the items such as power and water and sewer that Judy mentioned. And it's a nice one to get the flow of all the necessary requirements down on before we possibly do some larger ones as the year moves on. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just
Go ahead, Mr. Lucas.
Well, thanks to our cities being very good with money in recent years and growing revenues, we're doing a lot more things than we used to do a few years ago. We're going to be talking about Billwood Field here in a little bit. I think of the chamber, I think of Nebraska Land Days, I think all these things. We don't want to lose sight of that when our city tax dollars are contributing to things that benefit local businesses. That should be in our minds in addition to all the other normal factors with annexation. And so I guess my point with that is, as we seek to annex some of these businesses, we've brought more to the table as a city the last few years to, I think, help justify that request or that item. So it's just something to think about as we go through some of those.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I don't,
Go ahead, Ed.
I don't see any downside to this at all. I think it's probably a good idea. I'm just trying to get it through my German head.
Fine. Ask away, Ed. It's
It
fine.
might take a while.
Okay. All right, calling the question on item number 7, please. Item number 7 is passed. Item number 8, adopt the resolution to approve changing the name of West 16th Street to West 15th Street in the Mulligan Meadows subdivision.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution to approve changing the name of West 16th Street to West 15th Street in the Mulligan Meadows subdivision.
Second.
Motion by Flanders, second by Dye. Lane, would you expound on this a little bit, please?
So when Mulligan Meadows was laid out, where the street that runs east and west right now falls, it's about halfway between where 16th and 15th Street is to the west. And at the time, we gone with 16th Street, but some of the addresses, when they kind of fall on our grid when we're doing addressing, there's some numbers that are 1500 numbers above that street, and so it made more sense to have 1500s go with 1500s instead of being above a 1600 street, because that kind of throws off the numbering. So it's basically more for ease of 911, mail, etc., is to just change the street to 15th Street.
So what you're saying is we're applying logic and reason to our street planning.
Possibly.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Calling the question on item number 8, please. Item number 8 is passed. Item number 9, award bid of sanitary sewer connection district number 22 to Van Kirk Brothers Contracting of Sutton, Nebraska in the amount of $796,681.29 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Mr. Mayor, I move to award a bid for sanitary sewer connection district number 22 to Van Kirk Brothers Contracting of Sutton, Van Kirk Brothers Contracting of Sutton, Nebraska in the amount of $796,681.29 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by McNew. Brent? Where's Brent? Would you fill us in a little bit, please?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This district was created as a connection district with one of the end goals of reaching down to the new quick stop at Walker and Buffalo. And as part of this is part of the master plan to provide sewer in that particular area. So we have an 18-inch sewer of more depth than what we'd normally have. It's running about 14 feet deep. And the purpose is to be able to service that whole area at some point in the future. So it's part of the master plan. And it is designed to be able to go underneath the interstate to cover that piece of property. It's not going there anywhere near that, but as far as master planning, that's what this is all being laid out for right now. So it can continue north and west as well.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hold on. Hi.
Brent, I noticed you didn't have a lot of bids on this. How did it compare to what we originally had estimated, and how do you feel about the fact that there wasn't a lot of bidding activity on it? It didn't look like.
Some of it was, we had 4 pretty interested parties, and I was surprised that we only got 1 bid. Price wise, we were within about 30,000 of our estimate. So I thought we were pretty close on the estimate, and a little bit of a litmus test is a couple of the other contractors commented that they wouldn't have bid it for that price. So that the schedule is what I heard from a couple of them, that they picked up some jobs while this was bid, and then it didn't fit in their schedule. So 2 of the ones that I had talked to said that it didn't end up fitting in their schedule by the time it was actually bid. So.
Oh, thank you. That answers my questions.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 9, please. Item number 9 is passed. Item number 10, adopt the resolution approving claims and authorizing the issuance of 1 warrant to Myers Construction, Inc. in the amount of $351,718.29. 1 warrant to Paulson Inc. in the amount of $70,669.89, and 2 warrants to Nebraska Department of Transportation totaling $939,104.57 to pay approved claims, and referring to and incorporating the terms and conditions of ordinance number 3874 relating to warrant financing.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of 4 warrants as presented in the materials.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Lucas. Any discussion on item number 10? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 10, please. Item number 10 is passed. Item number 11. Okay. Authorize blank to continue discussions with the Legion Baseball Board regarding the possible addition of bathroom/storage facility at Billwood Field, subject to final approval by the North Platte City Council, and further authorize the use of city funds in the amount of, and yet to be determined number, for this project. We would need a motion of some
Mr.
sort.
Mayor, I move to authorize blank to continue discussions with the Legion Baseball Board regarding the possible addition of a bathroom storage facility at Billwood Field, subject to final approval of North Platte City Council, and further authorize the use of city funds in the amount of blank for this project.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Flanders. Lane, would you fill in the blanks for us?
The Legion and the city's been in discussions for a number of, well, actually years, but really hot and heavy discussions for the last year or so. As far as improving our bathroom facility at Billwood Field, I think the facility that's there now was built sometime in the 50s, maybe. And if you've been out there, it's fairly dated. We looked to put some money into it to try and update it and rehab it, and there's only so much you can do on something that old. And so Legion's worked with city building department and some other people to come up with a plan to build a new bathroom and storage facility hooked onto the back of the existing concession stand. And so I'd like to kind of present that to you. You have pictures in your packet. Right now, I think they have some bids on materials, the construction, and some of the concrete for about 100,000. There's two pieces that are still missing. I believe the plumbing and the HVAC system, if I remember right. So, Mr. Giesler's here from the Legion, if he wants to fill us in a little bit.
Good evening, Brett Geisler, 2702 Anna Avenue, and I'm the current vice president of the Legion Board. So I'm here to answer any questions for you guys. We're still waiting on HVAC and plumbing bids.
Go ahead and just kind of give us a couple minutes on what the whole plan out there this summer is for assuming we're able to construct this building.
It would be to centralize the bathrooms behind, like Lane had just said, to right behind the press box. Right now, they're all the way down the third baseline, and it's quite a jaunt to get to those. And like you said, they're dated, so just bring them up to the times, more modern, bigger bathrooms. And if we're able to do this, we'd hope to have it by April. So it would get us tail into high school, right into Legion program.
Okay. Questions, Pete?
I'm just trying to picture this in my head, and I've seen these plans. I'm still having a hard time just picturing this. So, you have the concession stand press box right now.
Correct.
Then you got that dilapidated garage. Then you got bleachers. So, this is connecting to the current press box and concession stand. Okay, so is it kind of behind it?
Yes, it'll be to the north side of the existing.
Okay.
And then so access to the upstairs would be through the current press box.
Okay. So you'll continue to use the concession stand
Correct.
as it stands right now, which
Yep.
also was born in the 50s
Yes.
by a
Yes,
dad.
so the history of that will still stay there.
That's kind of cool, actually. Yeah. Yeah, there's a plaque on that building. So,
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so connected just behind. So press box stays up top too?
Correct.
Yep. Okay. And then this is just a bathroom and storage.
Storage. Yep.
That's bedroom.
So upstairs will be just insulated, batted. It's not even going to be completed at this point.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Yep. Yeah, the bathrooms are atrocious. My wife has been on me for 20 years.
Yours and mine both. So
Yeah, I know. I know. I use there's a single handicap in between the two, and that's the one I would use.
yes. Yeah.
But
Too much information.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
If I can,
Thank you for doing this.
if I can add to that, one of the things that we discussed was, having the HVAC and furnace in there and having this, there's a water main, I believe, right to the north of this where we would tie into, and you'd have the water on, earlier in the year, later in the year, et cetera. So you could do some different things to add to that. And just maybe have some more uses at the facility besides with that having a furnace and HVAC in there. And again, having the handicap facilities and the stalls and just a modern bathroom. And it's also central then right where the concession stand is to all the bleachers instead of being quite a jaunt for those on the southwest side of the field. So
For sure.
Brett, did I miss anything else on there? That's kind of the main things I think we discussed.
Yes, sir.
Ty?
Yeah. Lane, do you want to walk us through where you see the money coming from? If this is going to be a collaboration with the Legion, or what's on the table there, and then who would own the building?
So the building being on city property would be owned by the city, much like our other buildings are now. I guess we're looking at a collaboration with the Legion, kind of like we've done with the tennis and pickleball and some of our other things where they come up with some of the funding. A possible, because it is a new facility and it's part of our parks and recs, we could use New Bern funds. Currently, the New Bern fund sits at roughly $3.6 million. We try to always leave 2.7 as kind of our baseline, and so roughly 900,000. We've committed funds, the 275 for about 275 for the Curly Park, and about 280 for the shelter, I believe, in Cody. So that still leaves 400,000 in that fund that we could spend, but that's where I would see maybe the funds is the most logical place to come from at this time.
And so how many of those funds do we believe that we would need for this?
That's kind of why this is open for discussion with the Legion. Brett, you guys have done some fundraising, correct?
Correct.
And you
Yep.
think you can get what 75, 80,000, somewhere in that range
Yeah,
for this? And
we'd be able to do that. Yes.
like I said, right now, the bids or the estimates that they have on the things that they have besides the plumbing and the HVAC are right around 100,000, I think. And so guessing that the plumbing and HVAC, electrical could be in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. So the total project maybe 150-ish. That's kind of what we
Even
discussed.
if
So
we just planned at that 80,000 mark and just said 160 to err on the side of caution. So.
yeah. So
Oh, Lane, at the, here, may I continue? Okay. At the Little League complex, so the city owns that building that Little League built, and we insure it and we own it.
Yep.
Okay.
that's all insured. Yes,
Okay, I didn't know how it worked.
and they continue to put money into that building and some updates. We worked with the city together. Lyle could probably speak on that a little bit more than I can, because that was some of those agreements were entered in before I was with the city. But that's how that, and then the soccer concession stand they paid for a lot of that, but that's actually city property that we insure, et cetera, too. So
One thing maybe we could just consider, like, for example, if a 50-50 split was around the type of dollars we were looking at between city money or New Bern funds and the fundraising they're doing, a percentage would cause a natural motivation for volunteer labor. I think of like when the Lake Maloney Golf Course Pro Shop Clubhouse was being done, how much there was a tremendous, volunteer effort. And I know there's something, I mean, you can't just have anybody come in and install a toilet. I mean, I get it. You got to do this stuff right. But if we were to consider some kind of a percentage split, it would motivate all sides to try to complete the project as cost efficient as possible.
that's for the council. That's why I kind of left it very broad as far as the motion, because we wanted to have this discussion and have the council really weigh in and give some ideas on how we thought this should look going forward. So that's why maybe I was a little more broad, and then some of the things that are brought to you because we wanted this discussion between the council and the Legion. So
I'm sorry, Mayor
Go ahead,
Kilgore.
Jim.
Okay, are we filling in these blanks then? What's the dollar commitment, or can we do that now? Figure out what that is?
I'd say we could do it now with a one offer and amendment to the motion. I
would
think
move,
we-
what was the number we were looking at?
Hold on just a second, Jim. So based on Ty's recommendation of a percentage split, perhaps you should phrase your motion such that it's a maximum amount of money up to,
Okay, well, I would also authorize a maximum amount of, what was that, is it 80,000 or 150? I didn't.
the entire cost could be as much as 160. So if we were splitting half and half, is that what you're suggesting, Ty, roughly?
Well, maybe we should ask the board
Yeah.
representative if that, you feel like that would be a workable arrangement.
I think that'd be a very workable arrangement if you guys are in agreement. So,
80,000? Okay,
yes, sir.
then I would suggest or put in 80,000 for this project.
And I had that blank as far as authorize someone to, I thought maybe you want to have a member of the council be someone to continue with city staff as far as the discussions with the Legion on the final look of everything. So that's why that was left blank also.
Are you suggesting a name, Pete, or you have been involved with that?
I've been involved.
You've been involved.
I would
so
be
you're
willing to
you're
do that.
knowledgeable.
Quite. Yeah.
I would suggest Pete Bowles be our representative.
Are you saying up to 80,000? That what you said, Jim?
Yeah, it'd be up to $80,000.
I would second Pete.
Is that you,
And then
Brian?
Pete Bowles would be the representative, council representative.
Let me make sure that I have my notes correct on this motion here. So what the motion is that the council would authorize up to $80,000 and that Mr. Voles would be our representative to work through this process. Are we putting in the requirement, Mr. Nisley, since you made the motion, that it's a 50-50 split? So for example, if the project is only 150,000 in total cost, the city would end up with a slightly smaller amount of money that we're donating. Is that part of your motion?
Yeah, I would suggest we authorize the amount based on a 50-50 split. Is that okay?
Okay, and up to 80,000.
Yeah, up to 80,000.
Okay.
That work with you?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Pete?
Discussion on that motion. Have you approached any other entity in town, i.e. maybe Visitors Bureau, about any funding? And I don't know if this would be for an improvement grant or anything, because this could get diluted down even more to a third possibly.
Well, we kind of have, but a lot of that is it has to be an uncompleted project. So
Say that again?
with the Visitor Bureau and a lot of their grants, it has to be like an uncompleted project. So that would delay us on if we wanted to get the ball rolling sooner on that project.
Okay.
But we have reached out to them as far as maybe finishing the upstairs at a later date and grants for that.
Perfect.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
of their funding cycle, it didn't hit this time.
I understand. Makes sense.
Brian?
Do any of the other leagues have any hands in this, the Pecos League or the other?
I guess as far as high schools and stuff, they pay us a certain percentage to use the field a year, and we kind of supply the chalk and that kind of thing, the equipment. So that would be in theirs. And then I guess we'd have to come with an agreement on the Pecos League if they were going to contribute in any way.
Ed?
I don't know. Can't remember now what I was going to ask.
Well, if it comes back to you in the
I'll
next few
think-
seconds, let us know.
Got
Ty,
one
go
why-
ahead.
I've got one why Ed's thinking.
Okay.
I want to make sure I have my head around this. So these bathrooms would be inside the fence, correct? So they wouldn't be usable if somebody was using the dog park, for example. These would be
Correct. Yep.
specific to the field. Makes sense to me. Just a comment that we've been talking about this in the community for 15 years, and I'm really glad to see it as a feasible item tonight. So.
Ed, go ahead.
I think it's a good project. I do. I have a question about, is there any way, if somebody wanted to use this, is there any way these monies can be funded through a nonprofit and gain a tax benefit?
You mean the donation section? of it?
Right, the donation section.
Do you guys have a fund at Mid-Nebraska? Does baseball?
I will look into that.
I mean, I would imagine, I can't speak for the Mid-Nebraska Foundation, but I would imagine they would be willing to create
Yeah,
one
I
if
would
there was
think that
interest in
might be
that
an option
direction.
for some
So,
folks.
For Giving Day.
For Giving Day. Yeah.
Too.
That would be really good.
That'll
Yep.
take some of the strain off of Pete. That's a big lift.
Do you recall, is there a fund?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
We've utilized the Legion has utilized Mid-Nebraska Community Foundation before.
Are they?
And at some point on that, we did have a 501c something. It was kind of vague. When the project gets delivered, it comes delivered to the city of North Platte. So the sales tax at least is out of there, I believe, right?
I guess we'd have to look into that.
Yeah,
There's some,
something there, but
ways to do
that's workable.
So we'll check into that, Ed. and
Okay,
let
the
you know.
other question that I have, are the plans and stuff already drawn up for the facility?
I think you have
I
some
mean,
of
your
them.
construction drawings?
I think
Yeah,
they're in front of you.
I gave the basic drawings, but we do have Dave Hahn, I believe, has the construction drawings in the office there. He kind of looked over them already.
Okay, well, and the only reason I bring that up, I mean, I don't know when your first game is, you said in April. That's not very much time.
Correct.
It's not very much time, and, so I'm sure you've already thought about that.
We have.
And,
Yep.
so,
And unfortunately, it's kind of been a process as far as getting plans drawn up, and everything takes time. So
and I would imagine, if this thing's gonna go, you might wanna try to nail down a contractor right away, because these guys are getting filled up.
yep, that's kind of why we've kind of put the cart ahead of the mule, I guess, before we came to you, and as far as getting bids and kind of
So you've
tying
got
up some of
somebody
their
in
time.
mind then?
yeah, we're hoping to use Nash Ackerman as a general contractor.
Okay,
And then in the
wonderful.
previous projects, we've used Rookstool Concrete. They're the ones that done the new backstop.
Good.
Okay, we have a motion on the table, actually, and our discussion strayed just a little bit. So the motion is to fill in the blanks with the 50% split, maximum of $80,000, and Mr. Voles would be the council's representative. Do we have any further discussion, excuse me, on that motion?
Mr. Mayor, do we want to designate where these funds are coming from in our motion?
I think that'd be a good idea.
I would make an amendment. They come from New Bern funds. New Bern funds.
Okay.
Would you like?
Can you put that right with the?
I was getting there, so. We'll treat it as a second amendment. Do we have a second on the second amendment?
Second.
Okay, second by Voles. Okay, before anyone says anything else, we're voting. So, amendment to the amendment. Funds would come from New Bern funds. Calling the question on that. Motion passes. Funds will come from New Bern funds. Back to the original amendment, which is 50%, 80K split, Pete Voles as a representative, and the funds would come from New Bern funds based on the previous amendment. Any further discussion on that issue?
Did you have 50% in your notes?
I did,
Okay.
yes. Everybody clear on the motion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, calling the question on this amendment. The amendment is now passed. After much discussion, we are back to the original question as amended. Do we have any further discussion? Anything else we need to clarify? Just to repeat, the council would authorize Pete Voles to be our representative in this project. Council further authorizes up to $80,000 of New Bern funds in a 50-50 split with the Legion Baseball organization. That is before us on the table. Any other comments or questions? Calling the question on this number 11 as amended. Passed as amended.
Thank you.
Item number 12, approve the claims.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the claims.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Nisley to approve the claims. Calling the question and approving the claims. Claims are approved. Public agenda request to respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or the mayor. Individual violation will be declared out of order. If anyone has an agenda request item, they're welcome to approach the microphone. Let us know who you are and what your agenda request is, please. Mr. Reeker?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Mayor, council,
Yes.
may I just briefly, we, looks like we have a scout here. Are you working on a merit badge?
Do we need him to stand up to the microphone and say something?
I think we should acknowledge he's working on a
Yeah.
scout merit badge.
Young man, would you come up and introduce yourself to city council, please?
Hello, I'm Ben Carhart. I'm working on my citizenship in the community merit badge right now, and I'm from Boy Scout Troop 293.
Well, thank you, Ben Carhart. We appreciate you coming tonight. Mr. Reeker?
Takes a lot of bravery to do that.
Did you made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
The motion by Reeker to adjourn, second by Vols, calling the question on adjournment, please. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Stay warm. It's going to be a cold one out there.